Hi, and welcome to Present Pilgrimage, the podcast where we explore current affairs through a spiritual lens. I'm Jennifer Winninger. I'm a white woman born in Atlanta, Georgia. I have lived in 2 African countries and visited over 25 countries all over the world. Once married to an Egyptian Muslim, I have 2 biracial and multicultural children.
I'm Iyabo Onipede. I'm a multicultural, biracial immigrant woman of color, and I have this unwavering belief that every single life has immense and incredible value. My core values center around compassion, equity, and justice.
Some of the questions Iyabo and I want to ask you all and talk about are, how can some of our more dehumanizing and limiting behaviors be examined, looked at, and transformed? Can we learn how to train ourselves to behave more humanely towards others who are seemingly different from us? Can we learn to quiet the voices of fear and suspicion and open ourselves up to connection, learning, and understanding some of our core values?
Thanks for listening to this podcast. Jennifer and I invite you to tap into your core values and join us on this journey as we explore current issues. Might we all begin to view the world through these amazing lenses of our deepest core values? Welcome to Present Pilgrimage.
Today, we would like to talk about the excitement of Stacey Abrams being nominated as the Democratic gubernatorial candidate for Georgia. Tuesday was the Democratic primary. She won by a landslide. She was electric in her victory speech. She's making a lot of national headlines and news, and there's all this speculation about her approach. And this is kind of what we're going to get into today. And her whole idea is that she wants to appeal to the younger population here in Atlanta, the progressives, the non-whites, really speak to her progressive base instead of trying to appeal to the moderate, which in my own opinion is kind of BS, like that sort of amorphous moderate group, centrist. I think centrist is too ambiguous. I don't think it's strong. She has a clear vision of what she wants to do, and her platform is very much appealing to me as a progressive white woman. And I want to also talk about how to address this with other white women who may, just for lack of really any clarity or like really sense of what they stand for, would describe themselves as moderate or undecided.
Right. I think that this is a really important conversation because the Democrats have to do something. The party
Absolutely.
is struggling. The party is struggling. After Obama and his grassroots approach, the party is struggling, which is not I'm a Democrat, diehard, but the bigger issue for me is how dirty Republicans fight and how it's like Democrats just implode, and I'm kind of like that.
Right.
When they go low, we go high kind of thing.
We don't fight dirty. Right? And, the Republican candidates, once driving around this awful immigration bus, which has also made national headlines, and basically the deportation bus, and he got 30,000 votes in Georgia.
How is that possible?
He came in third.
How
and
is that
the guys
possible?
in front of him aren't any better.
And didn't he take a picture with a gun prior to this?
That was Kemp, who came in second.
That's the person who came in second.
Yes.
I mean, this is so scary to me, yet, but isn't this the glorious paradox of life? Where those 2 guys also exists the first woman candidate for governorship in America that's black.
Yep.
The first woman of color governor is in South Carolina. I am really just excited about Stacey Abrams. And by the way, while we're talking about hair, I love that this woman, if you don't understand anything about black hair, I want you to understand that the risk she's taking to have natural hair that's not just short, it's longer, it's, natural, it's loose, it's a statement. To me, as a black woman, I am interpreting it as a statement, and good for her. It means she's someone who thinks outside the box. It means she's not someone who's going to BS you and toe the party line.
Right.
It means she's an independent thinker. And she's not a size 0. Sorry, Jennifer, you're closer to a size 0 than I am. But, you know, she doesn't fit this image of, I have to look a certain way to be accepted.
Yes.
And I love that about her.
And that's what her platform is. She's strong about her platform, about gun safety, about better public education, about better health care, about better mental health support for people, about prison reform, all the things that I am passionate about, and yes, are extreme opposite of the Republican platform. But the way she says it shows that this is what she lives, eats, and breathes. And as you're saying, the way she presents herself and who she is, so strong. So my goal is to be able to talk to white women who would be a huge voter base for her, to women who I talk to or I'm friends with who have similar sentiments, concerns, issues about what's going on in Georgia and in our country, and they want for their kids, they want gun safety in schools, they want better public education, they want better support for the teachers, they want all that, but they're either too unwilling or nervous or afraid to actually act on it in a political way, to follow through, to speak out, to attend the rallies, to make their position known to other people. Yeah. Some of it is to keep peace in the house. They might be married to a Republican husband. You know, white men, they don't want to make waves. Some of it is just a reluctance to really push and examine themselves and to live that out with integrity. It takes work. It can be uncomfortable. It can be a little bit painful. With your family, you know, having to engage in these discussions, and when you actually commit to that viewpoint, then have some arguments, you know, have some uncomfortable. White women can't, you know, we're bred to make everybody comfortable, to make everything happy and pleasant and peaceful and enjoyable. Making people uncomfortable is not something that white women are socially conditioned to do. Mm-hmm. So it kind of goes against that in a deep way. And this is where I want to appeal and talk to these women and say, this is, you know, this woman, Stacey Abrams, is really out there pushing for this. She's strong. She's got a lot of support. She's a great person to back for this because of her experience, because she's right for this job. Mm-hmm. The other issue is that she is a black woman. And that is something that maybe not a white woman who supports, you know, who identifies with her causes would immediately, be uncomfortable about. But people who are challenging that woman might bring that up and then say, well, you know, she's black. So how does someone understand that? How does someone a white woman who in her bubble doesn't necessarily interact with African American women in all kinds of ways, how does she have a frame of reference and experience and of relevance to address those other people who are challenging that, or to be able to say, I'm going to look at my own perspective. I'm going to look at my own inbred social conditionings around race and what I grew up with, and really challenge myself so that I can connect more with this candidate.
But you know, this really makes sense. And you know what struck me when you said that is this is also a feminist issue. Because when you were talking about white women being bred to keep the peace and all of that, I think of my mother, who was a white woman. My white mother and my black father loved each other because of both their intellectual capacities. And they argued politics all day long. In fact, for me, when you were speaking about white women and keeping the peace, I thought of a compliment a gentleman recently paid me, that you're very cerebral and I like talking to you because you're not a pushover. So I am conditioned to feel that I'm an intellectual equivalent of a male, a potential partner, a man I'm dating, my husband, whatever. Having intellectual discourse is mandatory to be part of my life. Heck, that's why we're doing this podcast. We're both thinking women.
Yes, I
so
agree.
for you as a woman, if you're listening to this, any man that is somehow sending you a subliminal message or behavioral message that your ideas don't matter or what's important to you doesn't matter and this is how you should think. For me, Jennifer, from a spiritual lens, I object to any form of asking somebody not to think for themselves.
I completely agree.
That's our human autonomy. As human beings, that's our personal sense of agency. And so my goal, my invitation to the audience would be to explore how you feel about this. Listen to your own wisdom. You know, we as women have that intuition and wisdom. Create space for that to be protected and for you to listen to yourself. What is this candidate really saying? Does it align with my deepest core values? One of the things I would encourage everyone in our audience to do, as we've done, identify what some of your values are and begin to live out your life from that perspective of your values. Not what someone else tells you are your values or should be your values. For instance, I remember one of my clients, this was with a divinity school, and one of my clients literally wanted me to give her permission to not shave her legs. And she flat out asked for it. And I was like, I don't understand. She said, I am a Southern woman. That is like a sin worse than death.
Yeah.
And I was like, could you please free yourself, right? Like, the problem is not you the problem is not you feeling like you want to not shave your legs, which is what she was talking to me about. I said, the problem is that you even want me, an outsider, to give you this permission when I don't pay your bills. I'm not responsible for your life.
Yeah.
I want you to find that strength within yourself.
That's what I'm thinking.
To have an opinion. Your opinion matters. Have it. It's important. And put it out there. And put your ballot behind your values and your opinions. It is so important and liberating.
And I was so excited to see how many women were on the ballot on Tuesday. I think it was probably 90% on my ballot, women running for all offices, all up and down, you know, from district court judge to lieutenant governor.
Yes.
To
Commissioner of Insurance, I think.
Yeah, all of them. And I
Isn't that awesome?
just made me feel so good. So
yes, this is our
matter.
time, ladies. This is our time.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us today.
Bye-bye.